Good morning. How is everyone? So, self-awareness. Why do I say self-awareness is the key? I'm going to quote Einstein. Albert Einstein said that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. The problem is those insane patterns that we engage in, the insanity that Albert Einstein is talking about, is often unconscious. We're not even aware that it's our thoughts and our beliefs that are guiding our behavior and creating the reality that we don't want. A lot of times there are things that have happened in our lives, many times in childhood, that were some type of traumatic event. And with our young and irrational mind, we will make sense of it. We will come up with some type of explanation. And usually with our young and irrational mind, we come up with a very irrational explanation. You would be amazed at some of the stories that I've heard people tell me that they've convinced themselves of. I'm going to give you one example. There was a boy I worked with a while ago. I'm working with them, and it's important to find out what these things are. It's important to identify triggering events. It's important to understand what story you've been telling yourself and what you've convinced yourself of as a result of that triggering event. His mother overdosed on purpose. She killed herself. His father was a drug addict and was in and out of their lives, just come back sporadically. And he would come, this is what the kid thought. His dad would come back and a lot of bad things would happen when he did. And the only reason that his dad would come back was because he wanted to see the mom. And the kid convinced himself that she killed herself because she wanted to protect him. Because if she wasn't around, the dad would stop coming around and would stop causing chaos in their life. She wanted to protect her son, this boy, from that chaos and from that damage of the dad coming around. And the only way that she could do that is if she took herself out of the picture. This little boy had convinced himself at a very young age that his mom killed herself because of me. That's incredible. I have several stories of what a young, irrational child convinced themselves of it would just blow your mind. That they take responsibility for the traumatic events in their life. Now, I talk about responsibility a lot, and let me just kind of clarify that a bit. There are some things that happen to us that are completely not our fault. Something may have happened to you in your life. I'm not saying take responsibility for that. It's not your fault that some adult did something to you when you were a child, that I was abused as a kid growing up. That's not my fault. But the way that I conduct myself now, and if I allow that to hold me prisoner in my life and destroy my life for the rest of my life, if I allow that to happen because of the pain and the fear and the anger and the insecurity and the low self-worth and all the things that resulted from that experience my whole childhood, if I allow that to destroy me, that's on me. But the fact that those things happen are not my fault. If something happened to you, it is not your fault. So, and real quick, knowing that children will take responsibility for things that are not their fault, that'll come up with these irrational explanations for traumatic events in their lives, like, for example, divorce. A lot of the times, small children, if you ask them the question, like, why did your mommy and daddy get divorced? They'll give you an answer like, well, because one night I didn't do my homework. Because what happened is he didn't do his homework. The dad got onto him probably in a way that the mom didn't approve of. So then then she confronts him and they start fighting. And this is probably some type of pattern in the household. But the kid will associate that with, I didn't do my homework. They got into a fight. I didn't do this. They got into a fight. I spilled my juice. I spilled my plate. I broke something, whatever. And my parents got into a fight. And they'll take the blame. They'll own responsibility for the fact that their parents got divorced. I need to hear this, and I'm telling you, do not fight in front of your children. Don't. Especially if it's related to something that they triggered, in a way, because it is not their fault. And they will take responsibility for it. And these kids, and a lot of the kids I've worked for, have come up with these irrational explanations for traumatic events in their life, and they've owned it. It's because of me that my mother did that. And that is just so wrong. So these are triggering events. Here's the thing. If I'm talking to you, we could figure out really quick because you already know the answer. You may not be comfortable talking about it, but if there's been some type of traumatic event in your life and you know that that was the beginning of the downward spiral for you, or you know that that's the source of a lot of your problems, you may know that. Knowing the triggering event is easy. I was in a car accident. I was assaulted. I was whatever. My parents got divorced. Someone passed away. Whatever. There's so many things, horrible things that happen in life, and so many horrible things that people do to people. It's just incredible. So it's easy to identify what that event is. What's not easy to identify is how your thoughts, beliefs, actions, and habitual choices have been shaped as a result of that event. Because what you felt during that, you've developed a coping mechanism, unconsciously usually, in order to try and prevent yourself from experiencing the same type of pain again. It's a natural human instinct of self-preservation. And if you have more awareness, it is the key that will unlock your best life, because with more awareness, you will be more capable of making better choices. Here's what life does to you. Life will punch you in the mouth. And if you don't figure out why you got punched in the mouth, life will turn around and come back and punch you in the mouth again. That's what will happen. So you have to become aware of how you have shaped your life as a result of some of these things. Now, what does that take? Dismantle your paradigms. Your personal paradigm is, how do you see yourself and the world? What do you believe about yourself and the world? Take a good look at that. I used to have the belief that the world is a dangerous place and the people in it will hurt you if you get caught slipping. So watch your back, be hyper vigilant, look for problems, look for people to screw you over. And when you go out looking for something, you'll find it. So take a good look at what you believe about yourself and the world, and ask yourself the question, what is it that I'm going out into the world and looking for every day? Because you'll find it. If you're looking for all of the cheating ass, punk ass, jerk men that are out there, you're gonna find them. And all the ones who are good and nice and that would actually give you what you want, you will filter right past them because you're not looking for that. So dismantle your paradigms. Ask yourself the question, what do I believe, and is it working out for me? Or is it destroying my life? So now that you're aware, now what? Somehow try to get closure. In some cases, you can actually confront a person. But if it's not safe to do that, or maybe the person has passed away. See, my father, I grew up in an abusive home, abusive environment, a lot of anger, a lot of chaos in my house, lived in fear a lot of my young life. Then he passed away when I was 17. So I'm not able, that's called unresolved trauma or unresolved conflict, unresolved grief, because there's no resolution to it. I can't go back and have a conversation with him about how those things affected me in my life, but I can do a couple of things that I did. So I was living in California. I went to the ocean several times. I would pick up rocks and I would act like that these rocks were things that had happened to me. And I would throw them in the ocean, symbolically casting them away from me so they wouldn't have power over me anymore. I went to my father's grave and I yelled at him and I told him what it did, trying to get closure. And like for my father, I know he loved me. I know he did. I know that he was abused. I know that he had a lot of issues. He was an angry person. He had a lot of insecurities, a low self-worth. I know a lot of these things about my father. He would sit in his chair and just tap his hand and grind his teeth and smoke one cigarette after the other. I saw that he was a tormented human being. He didn't do that stuff to me because of me. He did those things because of him. And that's what we do. That's why we have to learn to love ourselves, so we have the ability to love and treat other people well. It's so important. People will treat you as they are, not as you are. And you can't take responsibility for that, but you can take responsibility for what you're going to do about it. What next? Face it. Confront it. Accept it. At least 99% of us have a hurt little child somewhere on the inside. And at some point, we have to decide that we're going to be an adult and face it and stop being that cowering child in the corner. We have to come to that conclusion someday. And what you have to do, what's facing it, like I talked about on Halloween, how do you prove that the boogeyman's not real? You prove the boogeyman's not real by opening the door to the dark closet and looking in. You prove the boogeyman's not real by looking under the bed. And if you do that enough times, you will convince yourself that it is not dangerous anymore. I don't have to be scared anymore. So you have to get outside of your comfort zone. How do you act all the time? I was just talking to someone and they kept saying things like, I'm always that person that blank. I'm always the person that blank. And here, this isn't what they said, but I'll just finish that sentence. I'm always the person that keeps it together. I'm always the person that helps other people. I'm always the person that does for others and not for myself. Ask yourself the question, like I said earlier. If you find yourself saying things like, I'm always the person that blank, how has that been working out for you? I'll tell you right now that I spent about 1.5 years of my life completely focusing on getting better. Completely focusing on getting better. And if I would not have done that, I would have never been capable of doing what I try to do today, because I was a miserable, scared, angry human being. So, for all of you people who are always doing for someone else, for all of you people who never let your feelings show because you got to take care of everybody else, how is that working out for you? And if you really want to take care of people, if you really want to be the person that others can look up to, if you really want to be the solid rock that supports the people that you love, then you better start taking care of yourself. What else can you do? Get support and get help. People in my life probably used to think that I had it going on. I was taught growing up, because what was going on inside my house was never to be spoken of, ever. What happens in this house stays in this house. And on the outside, everything looked great. Went to church in our Sunday's best, singing in church, playing music. Smiles on our face, friendly laughing, ha ha ha. Go home, slam the door. Totally different story. So I was taught at a young age to put on a really good show. And I put up that front for a long time, going it alone. I'd get in trouble, arrested, have to report to my commander, go in, give my salute, and report to my commander and say, this is an isolated incident. It is not indicative of my character nor overall behavior, and it will never happen again. It was a lie. It was not an isolated incident. I was losing an internal war, and it was starting to destroy my life. And then finally, one day, I said, the last time I was arrested in February 7th, 2007, I go to my commander. Boom. I've been trying to get over this and move past this for over 3 years, and I can't do it by myself. I will take any help that you guys will offer me. And they did. They sent me to rehab. I got a lot of counseling. And I spent about 1.5 years completely focusing on me. And if I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't be able to do what I do right now. And comparatively speaking to what I think I'm actually capable of, that if some of these things still didn't hold me back, because I'm not over it. You know, there's too much of this pressure and this motivation, inspiration, positive psychology to just get over it and live your best life, right? But it takes awareness. It takes work. And another thing is this. What does your best life even mean? And I think for a lot of people, it at least has to start at this point. Living your life the best that you can in spite of the things that have happened. Rising above those things, becoming aware of how it's affecting you, taking action, and then moving forward the best that you can in spite of the pains of the past. And here is the last thing that I'm going to say. One of the greatest minds in human history, Socrates. Here's what you can do. You're aware, you're dealing with stuff, you know what the triggering event was, you know how it's affecting your thoughts and behaviors and how it's creating a situation in your life that you don't want, how it's destroying your life, your potential, your relationships, your professional potential, educational potential, your happiness. So you know what it is. You know how it's all connected. You're becoming more and more aware. What can you do besides get closure? Besides facing it, confronting it, accepting it, writing a letter, throwing it in the ocean? What can you do to move on? Socrates said, and I love this quote, "The secret to change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." It's good to be aware. It's good to recognize how it is that you're allowing these things to control and destroy your life. But you can't change it. What happened to me when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever age? What happened to you when you were 6, 7, 8, whatever? Can't be changed. And all of the fears you've associated with that are getting in the way of you living your best life now are not real. And I'm going to add a little bit of Jordan Peterson. You have to add meaning to your life. Do something for other people. There's a quote that I just posted, and my buddy Dennis, his family, it's like one of their mantras. Be a good person. Do good things. That's the secret to happiness. Focus all of your energy on being a good person, doing good things, adding meaning to your life by being of service to others. Focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. I hope a lot of people see this video. Please take what you need and leave the rest. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you found something of value that you can take and apply to your everyday life. Now be sure to subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so that you're notified every time I upload a new video. You can also watch these coffee talks live on my Facebook page 3 times a week. Just go to Facebook and search for Will and Purpose Coaching and stick around for the credits so you can learn more ways that we can connect. Welcome to the community.